أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، والحمد لله الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبو القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، سلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us all amongst the Zawar of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain, and to give us the opportunity to perform his ziyarat, inshallah ta'ala. As far as the etiquettes of ziyarat are concerned, I will encourage each and every one of us to read up on what these etiquettes are in terms of physical etiquettes of what to do, what to recite before you leave from home, what to say, and what all those things are important for you to read up and discuss, and you will be able to find them in many books, in English, in Gujarati, in Kutchi, in Urdu, in Farsi, in whatever language you want to read them. I do not wish to concentrate on how you present yourself physically before the Imam, nor do I want to concentrate on how what you recite. I want to go to the core of the purpose of the visit to Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam, and there are so many narrations, so many ahadith speaking about or talking about the excellence of performing the ziyarat of Hussain ibn Ali, and you will see ample of them. The fact that we are sitting here to learn the etiquettes of the ziyarat in itself proves that we have some understanding of the importance of the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. So I will not concentrate on those anymore, except during the Q&A session. If one wishes me to elaborate on any particular etiquette, then I will do so. I want you to observe one thing in particular, that you and I are going to perform the ziyarat. What does ziyarat mean? What is the meaning of ziyarat? Ziyarat means to visit. That's all ziyarat means. Now, there are etiquettes of visitation. When I come to your house, you come to my house, there are certain etiquettes of visitation. Does it mean that these are the etiquettes that you and I need to observe to go and perform the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain, of the supreme Imam, or whose ziyarat we are performing, whether it is the third Imam or the fourth Imam or the fifth Imam or any other Imam for that matter? Surely it doesn't mean how to present yourself before the Imam. However, if somebody does feel that way, then yes, there are certain etiquettes that have been mentioned in Mafatihul Jinan, in Kamil Ziyarat, in Iqbal, and many other books which mention the physical etiquettes. But ziyarat means to visit, purely to visit. But it's a very empty meaning of the performance of the ziyarat of Hussain ibn Ali. Ziyarat requires a profound understanding of the personality of Abu Abdullah himself and the ma'rifah of his existence and the purpose of his mission. That is what makes the ziyarat. There is one hadith, for example, which says that you can perform this ziyarat from afar. You don't need to actually be there present in the haram of Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, and you will still be rewarded and you will be given thawab. So why take a trouble of going 4,000 kilometers, 5,000, 10,000 kilometers or miles to go and visit Abu Abdullah al-Hussain? You will not even be able to touch him. You will not even be able to see him. You will only be pushed by the crowds there. You will only have to inconvenience yourself. Why should I actually go there if I am receiving the same kind of reward if I am performing the ziyarat from afar? So there is a purpose in the physical visitation of the ziyarat of Imam alayhi salatu wassalam, and that is what I want to concentrate on. What are we going to do there? And I want this to be interactive, perhaps even from now, and I don't have to then speak for 20-30 minutes. We can make it interactive now. Let's ask ourselves a question: why am I going to do ziyarat? Am I going to perform ziyarat because it is meritorious? There is huge amounts of merit in performing this ziyarat. Am I going to perform this ziyarat because I have a sick member of the family at home and I really want to go to Abu Abdullah Hussain and hold on to his zari and say to him that I want cure for this person who is sick? Am I going to perform this ziyarat because I have a desire that I want to be fulfilled and I am dying for this desire of mine to be fulfilled, and therefore I am truly going to go there and hold the Khak of Karbala and say, here I am, please fulfill this? What is the purpose of my visitation? That is what requires those concentrations are very superficial. Our concentration should be on why I am going to perform ziyarat. What is it? I don't have it. Sorry. What is it that I am going to perform the ziyarat for? Because the etiquettes of performing ziyarat: recite 100 times Allahu Akbar before you leave home, do your wasiyat and tell people what you... All these things are necessary for your responsibility. Sorry. Salawat Arab. Can you turn it the other way, please? So the important question, and I'm not going to answer this question, of course, because if I answer this question, then the real purpose for why you are going to perform the ziyarat, I don't know. I don't know why you're going to perform the ziyarat, and what should be the reason for performance of this ziyarat. So you ask yourself a question. Only you know what made you make this intention of performing ziyarat. I just don't want you to go to perform this ziyarat because it is a trend to walk from Najaf to Karbala. Please, you will destroy every intention of yours if you are going because it is a trend to walk from Najaf to Karbala, and because everybody is going to walk and so I am also going to walk. I don't want you to say Labbaika ya Hussain without you knowing what you are saying. What if Imam Hussain says, yeah, here I am now, what is it you want? How are you going to respond to this Labbaika ya Hussain? I don't want you to go and perform this ziyarat, or I don't want to go and perform this ziyarat without any kind of ma'rifah whatsoever. The first question that you need to answer, those zawar, those who are intending to perform this ziyarat, is why am I going to perform this ziyarat? What is it that has led me, or that has attracted me, or that has inspired me to perform this particular ziyarat? So this is a lead that I am leaving with you. When you are there, insha'Allah ta'ala, the scholars who are with you, the guides who are with you will guide you, will tell you what you are supposed to do. You will have read about Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari's, we had a beautiful marthiyah today. You will hear about Jabir's ziyarat and why, all these things you will hear. But while you are there, there are many people who get very busy and engrossed in some superficial understanding and superficial activities of performance of ziyarat. I am using the word superficial deliberately because I feel that if somebody understood the true meaning of the performance of ziyarat, they would not behave in a particular way. Let me give you an example. Touching of the zari will give, in our understanding, it gives us barakat. We want to go and touch the zari and we will get barakat. So you will see people whose back is hurting, for example, or they have back problem. The first thing they want to do is get as close to the zari as possible. And the moment they have access to it, they want to put their back by the zari and make sure that the zari is touching their back, so they get shafa from it. Some have problem with their heads, and therefore they will bang their heads there. Whatever it is a belief that I, through the barakat of this particular place, am receiving this. And surely it is Abu Abdullah's grave. There is no doubt that the intercession and intervention from him is great. Fitrus, an angel, received it. So if an angel was in need of that particular barakat, then surely you and I. But there is a verse in Quran. When you are there, I want you to reflect on this. There is a verse in Quran which says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Never consider those slain in the way of Allah to be dead. They are not dead. They are alive and receive their sustenance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I repeat the verse again. Never consider those slain in the way of Allah to be dead. They are alive. عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ, and are receiving their sustenance from their Lord. In normal fiqh that we study, it is not wajib to say Salamun Alaikum. It isn't. But it is wajib to respond to the salam. So when I say Salamun Alaikum, I'm not saying it. But if I'm saying Salamun Alaikum, it is wajib for you to respond. It is known as wajib kifai, which means if one of the crowd says Alaikum Salam, it is saqit on the others. The others are exempt from saying it. This includes the importance of salam is such that if somebody is praying salat wajib prayers, and you enter the house or you enter the mosque where a wajib namaz is being prayed and somebody says Salamun Alaikum, then the person who is praying a wajib prayer, if no one has responded, it is wajib for him to respond in kind, exactly the same way, not Alaikum Salam, but respond by saying Salamun Alaikum. This is the importance of response to Salamun Alaikum. Is it conceivable, therefore, that when I go to perform the ziyarat of Hussain ibn Ali, and I'm told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran that those slain in the way of Allah are alive and they are not dead, is it conceivable, therefore, that I say Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah and he does not respond to me? Is it possible? Why is it that I cannot hear his Alaykum Salam? Why is it that I can't hear the response of Hussain ibn Ali? Some points, or a point for you and I to reflect upon. Those slain in the way of Allah are alive. I am not going to kiss the grave. I am not going to touch the grave. I am going to communicate with the master of the liberated people. I am going to meet Hussain, the grandson of the Holy Prophet of Islam. I am going to speak to him. I am going to talk to him. I am not just going to touch the zari and come back. No. I want to communicate with my master. I want to know more about him. I want to understand what is the purpose of my existence. I want to know from him how he perceived this universe. I want to know from him how I should perceive this universe. How will I do this? Not by pushing people to kiss the zari, but by sitting outside there, looking at his zari, contemplating, talking to him, seeking his permission to enter. أَأَدْخُلُ يَا أَبَا عَبْدِ اللَّهِ, do you allow me to enter this haram? And if the ears are open and the soul is purified, there is no way that you cannot hear the response that you now may enter. What is the philosophy of Izn Dukhul? You don't seek permission when you go inside to the graveyard, do you? You just say, Assalamu alaikum ya ahl al-qubur, antum lana faratun wa nahnu insha'Allah bikum lahiqun. O the inhabitants of the grave, you have preceded us. We are insha'Allah going to join you. That's the dua you recite when you go to the Qabristan. Or you say, Assalamu ala ahli la ilaha illallah, ya ahl la ilaha illallah, min la ilaha illallah, kayfa wajadtum qawla la. That's all we say. You don't go in there to communicate with the people who are in the graveyard. What do you go to the graveyard for? What is the purpose of going to the graveyard? The purpose of going to the graveyard is to remember our dead people. But when you are going there, it is not a graveyard that you and I are visiting. The Izn Dukhul, the philosophy of seeking permission to enter, means that you can't enter without seeking permission. It also means that seeking permission means you are asking permission from the Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, and you are expecting a response from him. So what needs to be done in preparation is purification of the soul to allow my ears to hear that which I normally don't listen to keep my eyes open to that which I do not keep my eyes open to keep my heart open. And I'm not talking about the eyes, the physical eyes. No, I am speaking about the eye of the heart. Because if there is a verse in Quran which says, Man a'ma fi hadhihi dunya wa huwa fil akhirati a'ma. One who is blind in this world is going to be blind in the next world as well. This is a verse of Quran. Allah says, one who is blind in this world is going to be blind in the next world. If I take the literal meaning of this, it means the blind man who is blind will not be able to see even in the hereafter. But that's a very superficial meaning of it. It means that one who has not been able to see the fact and the truth and the reality in this world will not be able to see the reality in the hereafter as well. If I am unable to understand this philosophy of my master's ziyarat and the visitation, I'm seeking permission. My ears, I need to prepare them from here to go and open my ears so that I may be able to speak to my master when he responds to me, when he says alaykum salam to me. Maybe we will not be able to achieve this. Maybe it's difficult to achieve this. It is still a start. We require to perform a spiritual ziyarat, not a ziyarat of trend. People are just because it's a trend to perform a ziyarat, and therefore I am also one of the people who is following a trend. Another thing that I want you to contemplate about ziyarat, and then I will end inshallah ta'ala and open for question and answer. The story of Fitrus, you may have heard it, you may not have heard the story of Fitrus. Some people even deny they consider it to be da'if, they consider it to be weak. Some people do not even believe in it. But I want to use this story to be able to understand my ziyarat, my own ziyarat. The story of Fitrus goes like this. Upon the birth of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain salawatullahi wa salamu alayh, when he was born, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the riwayat says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent 70,000 angels along with Jibreel Amin to congratulate the Holy Prophet of Islam upon the birth of Hussain ibn Ali. This hadith or this riwayat lays emphasis on who is Hussain. And what is the status of Hussain? As Jibreel Amin was leading the caravan of the angels to go and pay a visit to the Holy Prophet of Islam so that they can congratulate him, they came across an island where there was an angel who was punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and was isolated from the assembly of the angels because this angel was lazy in obeying the command. Not that he did not obey the command, but he showed some kind of a lethargic attitude. This is what the riwayat says. Again, I emphasize, I am not concentrating on the riwayat, I am concentrating on what I want to take out of this particular story for the Zawar in particular. And this Fitrus saw Jibreel Amin and he saw the rest of the angels visiting the Holy Prophet. He inquired and he was told by Jibreel that this is where we are going. He asked permission if he was also going to be allowed so that he can also come and congratulate the Holy Prophet of Islam upon the birth of Hussain. Allah granted the permission. Fitrus was carried together with them and he was placed before Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam as they went to give their congratulations and greetings. It is said, according to the riwayat, that at that moment Fitrus complained and sought the intercession of the Holy Prophet of Islam so that he could be forgiven for whatever crime he had committed. The Prophet is said to have told Jibreel to ask Fitrus to come and touch his body with the body of Hussain. Some go and say to touch the cradle, but I don't think it was the cradle. It is to touch the body of Hussain. Fitrus moves forward, he touches his body with the body of Hussain ibn Ali. He is cured of his spiritual illness, and then he moves away from there extremely rejoicing at this freedom, and he goes amongst the assembly of the angels, boasting amongst them, crying out, screaming, "Is there anyone who has been liberated and freed like me by Abu Abdullah al-Hussain?" You've heard this before? You've heard this story before. I want to use this story. Fitrus was Fitrus. I am also wanting to be Fitrus. I am mareed spiritually. I am sick. I have committed so many sins in my life. I am not even worth visiting the threshold of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain. I am ill spiritually. I am totally finished spiritually. I need that touch of Hussain to release me from my illness. I need Hussain to touch me. I need Hussain to kiss me. I need to kiss Hussain. I need him to give me the shifa spiritually so that I may be able to see him. I may be able to engage in communication with him so that I can be liberated. That ziyarat will have a different meaning altogether, but it will require reflection. It will require for me to sit outside, not just like a parrot. Assalamu alaikum ya warith a'alim sifatillah. Assalamu alaikum ya warith nuhin nabiyillah. And the ziyarat is finished and we have come back. That ziyarat is not a ziyarat. Ziyarat requires total contemplation. It requires for me to understand who Hussain is. What can I take from Hussain? How do I apply what Hussain has done to my life? And when I come back, I am one of those people who have been liberated. You know, one of the names of Imam Hussain is Abul Ahrar, the father of the free and liberated people. Where does he get this name from? Because he is the one who grants freedom to people who are seekers of freedom. So Hussain ibn Ali is a huge personality. We may never be able to understand him. But the purpose of this visitation, as you walk from Karbala from Najaf to Karbala, or from wherever you are walking to Karbala, or you are not walking, you are going by bus or by train or whatever you are going by, that is not, the people who walk are not walking because they just want to walk for the sake of it. It is the sunnah of the ulama. There is no imam that has walked, but it is the sunnah of the ulama, maraji idham of the past and present, never used to perform the ziyarat on a mount or in a car or in any transportation. They used to prefer walking, and they used to go, even if they went once a month or twice a month. Ayatollah Shahabuddin Mara'ishi Najafi swore, you know Ayatollah Shahabuddin Mara'ishi Najafi, very spiritual scholar who died very recently in Qom. He was so spiritual before Ayatollah Bahjat. He was so spiritual that when he walked outside his house to go and lead the prayers in the mosque, in the haram in Qom, the people used to flood the streets only to get a glimpse of him and kiss him. And he used to hold a stick in his hand, driving people away from him so that they don't kiss him. So spiritual. He has the largest Shiite library in Qom, belongs to him. It's he who has made this library. He himself is buried in this library. If you take any book in that library and open the first page, there are certain notes that have been written. In one of the notes that I read in one of the books, it says, it was impossible for me to buy this book. So I went to somebody whose family, somebody had died, and I told them, is there any qaza, namaz or roza for the marhum? I am willing to do the namaz and the qaza rozas for him for this particular price, so that I may be able to buy this book. And I bought this book through that money. That kind of a spiritual man. When he was in Najaf, he did not perform his ziyarat except if he walked to perform the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah. That is the ziyarat of ma'rifah. He knew who he was going to visit. And when he was unable to walk, he stopped performing the ziyarat. He says, I will not go to perform the ziyarat in Karbala. I will do this ziyarat. Until he died, he never went back to Karbala. He performed the ziyarat from far. Did he not know the importance of the ziyarat in Karbala? He knew. But his ziyarat had now reached that level where his soul was communicating with the soul of Imam. It was not his body that was communicating with the body of the Imam. It was his soul that is not restricted to time or space. You can then say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah from wherever, if you are able to listen to the response of your master. So these are the important preparations that you and I need to perform as we go and perform the ziyarat. I will end here and open it for a question and answer session, and then probably talk about specific issues that are raised by this. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. Lots of technical issues. I'll just use my voice. It's okay. You can. Unfortunately, having a few technical issues. Alhamdulillah. Is there any last minute entries? I would like to put my name for the next trip. It's not just how, Maulana puts it, but just going to Karbala and thinking about, imagining yourself there is just, you want to go again and again, alhamdulillah. So this is the point. We'll open it up to the floor. We do have just one mic. I'm going to keep it with Maulana, and I just ask that you ask your question loudly. Just raise your hand, ask your question very loudly so that everyone can hear. And I'll ask you, Maulana, to just repeat the question for those of you in this online, and then we'll have this recorded, so it'll be beneficial for those as well. Okay, so with that.
Alaikum salam.
What should one's attitude be on going to Karbala, and also the other Imams? Because emotionally, you're very happy, you're very excited. It's a great honor. So does the Imam want to see us in a state of happiness, or does Imam Hussain want to see us in a state of sadness? And then also when you go to, for example, Najaf or Qadamain, maybe the level of grief is not that pertinent in those cities. So similarly, does Imam Ali want to see us with a big smile? Should we be recollecting the times of joy in his life, or should we address him with tears, recollecting the time of oppression in his life?
So I hope you heard the question. It was a long question. I can't
Summarize.
Yeah. What should be our attitude in our visitations to our Imams, be it Imam Hussain or any other Imam for that matter, should we be entering and reflecting upon the happy moments of their lives and go with a big smile, or should we be going there? Please correct me if I'm not expressing your sentiments. Or should we be going there with a sad face and just do what we are supposed to be doing? Is that correct? It is important that prior to performance of the ziyarat, that we reflect and we think about why we are going to perform this ziyarat. There is absolutely no problems in going with a big smile. It totally depends upon your relationship after your comprehension and understanding of the personality of the person, or of the personality you are visiting. So one of the trips, I had a young man from Sweden who came to perform ziyarat in the group in which we went together. Upon arrival in Karbala, we spoke about the etiquettes of how to enter the haram. We opened Sheikh Abbas Qummi's Mafatihul Jinan. We explained to them what Sheikh Abbas Qummi says, what are the etiquettes of entering, how you need to take the dust of Karbala and place it on your head and walk barefooted, and all those etiquettes we explained to him. This young man heard me and was totally glued to what I was saying, extremely concentrating. That night, when we went to Ziyarat, he didn't come with us, and he says, I need some time. Following day, he didn't go. Third day, he came with us, and now we have only one more day in Karbala. He came with us, and he stood outside the haram and did not, in the sahan of the haram, and he did not go inside. And then he sat me down and said, I need to discuss this with you, Sayyid. It's the first time I have come to Ziyarat. And I have a very different view of my Imam. I have a very different impression. And my perception about my Imam is very different. I don't feel like going the way you have explained me to go. I feel I'm going to meet a huge grand master, and I want to be able to go with a three-piece suit, and I want to be able to enter there in his presence and feel the awe from there. I don't want to go there with dirty clothes because I want to meet my master. I was so touched by what he said, because these etiquettes, sometimes we just follow them. Sheikh Abbas Qummi has explained them to us so that we can probably connect to the emotional side of Karbala. Probably that is why these things have been mentioned to us. But when you have a perception of your Imam, it does not matter how you enter. What matters is that you enter with presence, cognizant of the fact that his presence is intense before you and how you react to it. So it doesn't matter how you go. If you don't feel like crying, don't make your face to just cry. Truly, sincerely. And I swear to God, when you understand what Hussain is and what he does, not his emotional side of it, but only himself as a human being, you will not, but floods will come out of our eyes to know what Hussain ibn Ali is. Or anybody, or any Imam that we go to. But it is the personal relationship, contemplation prior to going to this place that will establish this relationship of yours. Meet him soul to soul. Make it a point to make your soul meet his soul. And then perform the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain.
I know you all have a lot of questions, so
They don't.
Just, this is your chance to.
They don't have questions. Don't push them.
A very shy community that takes some
MashaAllah.
time to-
MashaAllah.
Okay, I'll ask a question. I'll give you a chance. I'm going to ask a question. My question is about one of the riwayat that says you shouldn't eat meat in Karbala. Me and my wife talked about this for a long time, and what is the philosophy?
Right. So it's not a hadith from what I understand. It's not a hadith from the Imam or anything. It is one of the etiquettes that have been mentioned in the book, that you should avoid eating meat in Karbala. Meat is considered to be an expensive dish, and what is the purpose of writing this, or the purpose of preventing people from eating meat, is only that if you are going to give condolence to Bibi Fatima Zahra alayhi salam in Karbala, and you are going to see Karbala as only an emotional aspect of Imam Hussein's life, then you should go with that kind of an etiquette. You should not merry-make there, you should not laugh there, you should not joke there. It's just like you are visiting a bereaved family, and therefore you should not be eating that which is a good food. But this is again very superficial, as I said, very superficial. When you do that kind of a ziyarat, then yes. But when you are doing ziyarat at a different level altogether, what do you think the people in Karbala are doing? Not eating meat? They will be deprived of protein. It will be a problem for them. The people in Karbala are eating meat. Our groups, when they go, there is nothing on the table but meat. Huge pieces of meat when you go and perform ziyarat. It's all there. It's not important not to eat meat or to eat meat. It is just how you feel at that particular time. If you feel that you want to rejoice with the Imam, eat those big pieces of meat. If you feel that you are only there because you want to see this as a bereaved family and you want to feel sorry about it, then avoid eating meat. But it's got nothing to do with the ziyarat itself.
Sultan, one question.
Ji.
Normally we go to Ziyarat to Syria, Iran or Iraq. So if I have an opportunity to go to one place, what should be my priority?
So normally we go to ziyarat. Ji. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So the question is, normally we go to ziyarat Syria, Iran and Iraq. Medina you forgot as well. So, and Medina. If I want to perform ziyarat, what should be my priority of the performance of ziyarat? This is a tough question. It is your preference, to be quite honest, but the highest spiritual position in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and within the Muslim ummah is that of the Holy Prophet of Islam. He holds the highest position amongst all the infallibles, prophets, and the Imams. The second highest position in the spiritual realm is that of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and the third highest status is of Bibi Fatima Zahra, and then comes Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. So this is the spiritual status. I am talking about the spiritual status. However, you, from childhood, as you listen to history and you go through books, you normally begin to develop love for a particular personality amongst this personality. And at times it is so intense that you are attracted and want to go towards that particular personality, whatever it is. But the excellencies of the ziyarat of Hussain ibn Ali are so many, that including one riwayat that says if you have already performed Hajj, then on the day of Arafat you should be performing the ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, because the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first looks towards Karbala and then it looks towards Arafat. There is a hadith that suggests that. So it's how you want to perform, where your heart is being attracted. There is no specific, but the philosophy of ziyarat actually started in the way it is now after the martyrdom of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. So it is he who has saved the legacy of all the prophets. It is he who has saved the legacy of the Holy Prophet of Islam and the teachings of him, and therefore he is seen to be, had it not been him, all these things would not have existed, and therefore people get pulled towards it. But Bibi Zainab is another huge personality, the Prophet. So it doesn't matter whose ziyarat you do first. Yeah.
About walking from Najaf to Karbala, it's only these 3 or 4 years people have started in flocks to walk from Najaf to Karbala, and people are from here, they just think that, oh, I'm going to walk. I'm going to walk. That's the purpose of Ziyarat. Is it acceptable?
You see, as far as people are concerned, they follow what they are being told, and that is why I insist that the self-reflection, self-development, self-growth through reflection is extremely important. The reward is not in the walk. The reward is in the game, in the end, in the actual hadaf, in the actual prize that you are going to get. Could it be possible, or is it the case, that if I walk from Najaf to Karbala, I will get 1,000 sawab, and if I go by bus, I will get 10 sawab? Is there anywhere written like this? No. The only saying in Arabic language that people use is al-ajru ala qadri al-mashaqqa, which means that the reward is in accordance with the trouble that you take. But that is not restricted to the ziyarat of Imam Hussain only. It is restricted to life principle in itself. The more jetli menat, etlo far. That's what they say in Gujarati. That's what al-ajru ala qadri al-mashaqqa means in Arabic language. Yes, there is this inspiration, there is this zeal of people to perform. They want to go and perform the ziyarat of Hussain. Some of them want to feel the pain that Hussain ibn Ali went through. That is why in the beginning I said, don't go and perform the ziyarat because it is a trend. Walk because you really feel that you want to humiliate yourself, you want to have dust on you to be able to visit. I don't know what the intention of the people who are walking is, but once you have the ma'rifah, like we are told regarding Janabi Zainab alayhi salam, we are told that when she came from Sham after coming from the prison, and she came to Karbala, she threw herself from the mahmil, from the camel, outside the outskirts of Karbala, and then she walked on her knees to the grave of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. We are told that that is what has happened. We have a maqam of Imam Jafar as-Sadiq in Karbala. There is a place known as the Bagh of Imam Jafar as-Sadiq behind Maqami Sahib al-Zaman. We are told Imam Jafar as-Sadiq came to stay here, and he used to perform the ziyarat of Imam Hussain walking from there. Is the emphasis on walk, or is the emphasis on the ziyarat? The emphasis is surely and certainly on the ziyarat. Prior to Saddam Hussein's fall, people didn't walk because it was hostile, they were not allowed, they would be killed if they walked and all that. Since he has gone, some people who had dreams have started to walk, and now it has actually become a huge thing, and everybody is doing it. Alhamdulillah, as long as they are doing it with ma'rifah, then it's fine. But it doesn't mean that the person who is not walking and only going to perform the ziyarat of Imam Hussain by car, that his sawab is going to be any less than those who have walked. Yeah.
How many miles are there?
I have not had a chance to walk myself. Those who have, do you know the distance?
80 kilometers.
80 kilometers? 70 kilometers, yeah. 70 kilometers. Takes 2.5 days, I think. G?
If you have never walked that many miles,
Yeah, so people are using treadmills a month in advance, and walking, everything.
Okay, so that's like as much as came, then they go by what?
It's a question.
Ji.
Sayyidina, Assalamu alaikum. You had mentioned earlier that you need to contemplate when you're there before you enter and wait for the, not wait, but you will hear the salam from the Imam. Most of us, obviously, you know, I mean, it's easy for those that have been there and probably in a more religious stature to connect in that way. What do we have to do? And I know you mentioned contemplate, but when we're there and just going there and just entering and saying salam and doing your ritualistic ziyarat and so on, what do we need to do to be standing outside there in contemplation? What sort of help do we need in contemplation to connect and hear that alaykum salam that we need to do and to gain entrance to the tariq?
So the summary of the question is that when you say that you need to contemplate and enter the haram of Imam alayhi salam so that you can hear the alaykum salam from the Imam, what is it that I need to do to be able to hear that alaykum salam in my position or in our position who just go and perform the ziyarat? How would we listen to the voice of the Imam? Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah? Is that summary correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So contemplation is a second stage. Purification is the first. So when you are contemplating, when people are contemplating, they are not contemplating on the personality of Imam as to who he was, what he did. Initially their contemplation is upon themselves as to why they are there. And I mentioned the story of Fitrus, of how sick I feel within myself, how ill I am spiritually, how this within myself I feel totally unworthy of being able to perform this. So this contemplation first requires as to why I feel unworthy. What is it that is making me feel unworthy? I need certain purifications, for example, purification of my heart, my thought process need to be purified. My habits need to be purified. I need to make sure that I do not do certain things that were disapproved or disliked by my Imam. What are those things that my Imam would never accept from me? I need to eliminate those things. I need to give him this promise. I need to prepare myself. So those contemplations will purify the spiritual aspect within the human being. Once you contemplate on those things from before, not only outside the haram, not only, it's a continuous process as you intend to perform the ziyarat as to what you are going to do there, what is the purpose. It's not just a trend. I am going there for a reason. I'm not just spending money and walking all this for a purpose. I'm going there for a huge reason. What is this reason? And what do I need to do? So you will realize that I need to become, for example, I'm talking about myself now. I need to become a good human being. I need to eliminate hypocrisy from my life. I need to eliminate riba from my life. I need to eliminate I want my Imam to be proud of me. What is it that will make my Imam proud of me? That will allow me to look within myself and eliminate those things which prevent me from being a worthy servant of my Imam. And once I feel that I have done my bit and I have tried my utmost best, then contemplate on who I am going to and what I am going to ask from him. And then when you sit there in contemplation and watch people, you will see the response to the people, maybe not to you initially. You will see that people are receiving responses, maybe not here, but I say hear the voice. It is not like me saying, or at least I feel that way. It's not like me saying, Riyaz, alaykum salam. No, it is the response of the soul. So when your soul is not in your body and it is connected with the soul of the rest of the zawar, you hear the interaction of these souls. You hear these souls talking. It's not your ear that hears it now. It is your soul that is hearing it. But for soul to hear it, you need to remove the rust from it by purification of that soul. And that once the rust is removed, then you rise to a higher level of the understanding of what the ziyarat is all about. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question from the ladies. The question, and if you have any questions from the ladies' side, please ask either Sister Sumaya, she can text me, or Sister Samir in the back, she can text me as well. The question is, what advice can you give us as far as what to ask from our master?
The best advice, or something that I normally try to ask from my master is, oh my master, what is expected of me from you? And that opens up thousands of questions. What is expected of me from you, my master? Tell me, somehow communicate with me, what am I supposed to be doing? And I think when you think about that question, you will answer these questions yourself and be inspired by the responses of the Imam alayhi salatu wasalam.
Another question. This is a little bit of a long question. When I went to Ziyarat, I couldn't help but notice children begging on the streets. Can everyone hear me in the back? Yeah? Okay. Couldn't help but notice children begging on the streets. And I understand with the barakah of our Imams, we have a lot of people going. And there is an economic benefit in there. My question is, what steps have our learned scholars taken to take this money coming in to get the children off the streets, to prevent an institutionalized begging to come forth in the future, especially with the children who are poor and need money, but need the government to provide education which may not be present? Maybe it requires good planning and envisioning the children's future. And are there any steps being taken to prevent this in your experience?
I am sure that the grand scholars who are responsible to reach out in their social responsibilities are doing what they are supposed to do. To what level they are doing it, I am not sure. I don't have access to that information myself. But yes, there are people, there are sick and poor people, and there are masakeen and beggars on the streets of Najaf and Karbala and all other places. What system is being employed to eradicate this kind of poverty, or to bring growth within the education system, or whatever? I'm sure they are reaching out to them, but to what level I'm not sure at all. Yeah, and it's more a political question than something that will benefit us.
You have a question right here?
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How did the name Ya Aba Abdullah come about, and what does it mean?
How did the name Ya Aba Abdullah come about, and what does it mean? You know, in Arabic language, there is something which is known as kunya. In English, it is translated as epithet. In Arabic language, say my name is Muhammad. Respectfully, they don't call me Muhammad. So if I have a son whose name is Salman, then they would call me Abu Salman, the father of Salman. So when they call me, they will tell me Abu Salman. When you grow up, what's your name? Miqdad. When you grow up and you call your son, what would you like to call your son? Murtaza. So when you call your son Murtaza, they won't call you Miqdad. They will call you Abu Murtada. Ali Asghar's name is Abdullah. The little child of Imam Hussain, 6-month-old child of Imam Hussain, his name is Abdullah al-Radhir. Abdullah, the 6-month-old child. So Imam Hussain is known as Abu Abdullah, the father of Abdullah. That's where the name comes from. Okay? So when we say Ya Aba Abdullah, we are calling upon the father of Abdullah, who is Imam Hussain. Alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
If we can go back to the first question from the ladies, I'm not very clear if I understood your answer well. Possible you could elucidate it further, please?
Which question is this to do with the poverty?
No, the previous one.
What question to ask?
What to ask?
Our master.
I mean, this what to ask, I told you what I would ask for. It's a very personal thing as to what to ask. What do you want to ask from the Imam? As I said, it is the level of the ziyarat that one is performing. It could be because somebody wants something from Imam. It could be because they want cure to the illness, because they want barakat in their rizq. Whatever it is, they would ask that in the performance of the ziyarat. What I try to ask from my Imam alayhi salam in my contemplation is that, oh my master, what is expected of me? I mean, I have come here. It is said that you call upon people. It is said that it is your labbaik that has brought me here. So here I am, my master, labbaik, I am here. What is expected of me? What can I do? What do you expect of me that you have called me here to perform this ziyarat? When I ask this question, in the physical realm, I will answer this question myself as I look back into my life. In the spiritual realm, if you are connected soul to soul, you should be able to receive the answer soul to soul. That's what I meant.
A related question to that is, so I've been given the opportunity to go to Ziyarat for the first time. I have so much to talk to him and ask him for, but I feel selfish to tell him what is in my heart because what he has gone through. Is it okay to ask, or shall we ask on the last day? Or shall it just be contained in the heart and he will know?
I think the purpose of communication is to be able to relate to the Imam. It is not wrong to ask for your desires from him at all. It is just like you sitting next to your mother and crying out to her about your problems and seeking her assistance and her kind hand over you and a few words from her to. Ziyarat is that relationship. Ziyarat doesn't mean just to go Assalamu alayka ya waritha Adam wa sifwatillah or Nuhin Nabiyillah Ibrahim Khalilillah. No, there is one aspect of it. Ziyarat is to be able to connect with my Imam, to ask him the smallest of the things because I feel that that thing has a sentimental value to me, or to ask for Allah from him. Please open the way or the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for me. Allow me to be able to see God the way you have seen God. You can ask for that. You can ask from Imam Hussain for a house. You can ask from Imam Hussain for a husband, for a wife, for a child, for anything. And we have riwayat that people have done so. We have heard so many stories in the karamat and the miracles of Hussain ibn Ali. You can ask for anything. The purpose is communication with the Imam. There is nothing small in front of the Imam or big. There is no selfish. It is the fact that I am going to meet my Imam in itself is selfish. Even if I want to meet God through the Imam, it is still a selfish reason. So it depends upon the level of ziyarat I am doing. If my level is to talk to my Imam and hold on to him and say that hold my hand and take me from here to here, fine, that is perfectly okay. It is how you communicate with him. It's communication. It's not important what you ask for, but when you ask for it, you know that he is someone who is able to influence your supplication or the granting of your heartly desire from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not wrong, it's not selfish to ask what he has gone through. In fact, you may have heard of the story of Allama Hilli before. If not, then I will just quickly, it's a long story though. Have you heard of this woman? I will cut the long story short, and this is from Allama Hilli. There was a woman in whose house a king went to, whose house, who was lost on his way, and he went to her house and he spent a night there, and she had a goat and she slaughtered and gave it. You know the story, yeah? All of you know the story. The punchline of that particular story is that when she came to ask for a favor from the king or for assistance from the king inquired from his advisors as to what should I give this woman. And some said this and some said that. Eventually the king said, none of you have done justice. This woman gave me her entire capital. It is my responsibility now to give her the entire kingdom that I have. So it was the 12th Imam, according to Allama Hilli, it was the 12th Imam speaking to Allama Hilli, who says that Hussain spared nothing to save Islam. Why should therefore Allah not give His entire will and mashiach in the hands of Hussain ibn Ali? So if you need to seek something from him, seek it as if you are seeking it from God, except don't think that it is He who grants it, because that becomes shirk. It is He who influences it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants it. But Hussain is Hussain.
Another question from the ladies. You talked about the purification of the soul. What if there isn't enough time? How can we face our Imam, and can we ever truly be purified?
Purification through contemplation is an ongoing and continuous movement. But sincerity comes in an instant, and sincerity can wipe out the whole rust in an instant moment. It is how sincere one is in seeking repentance, in wanting to meet, in wanting to clear, in wanting to clean the rust from one's heart. It is the sincerity that is more important than the timing. Because for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. It is for Him, be, and it is. How sincere I am in my repentance, how sincere I am in seeking, how sincere I am in wanting to meet my Imam, to talk to him, to communicate with him, is what is important.
A question from the gents, and it's a question I've had also. Gold and pomp and flashiness of this dunya is not something that the Imams wanted. So why are their harams so decorated?
It is not the Imams that have decorated the harams. It is us that have decorated the harams. It is us that have put gold in them. It is us that have decided to spend money, again, purely through our own faith and iman and our aqidah on the grand personality of Imam Ali or Imam Hussain or any other Imam. For example, if you go to the haram of all the Imams alayhimu salatu wassalam, you will see the grand haram in Mashhad. Allahu Akbar. Those who have been there can appreciate what Mashhad of haram is. It is bigger than the haram of Khana Kaaba. It has 11 sahans, not one, 11, one attached to the other. Look at the dome, beautiful. They say that if the economy of Iran fails, they can rely on the gold that is on that dome to run the Iranian government. You go to other harams. You go to the haram of Imam Ali in particular. You know the wall, the entrance wall. So when the grave is like this, the head is on this side and the feet are on this side. All the golden walls of the haram, of the outside of the haram, are on the head side of the Imam, where the Imam is lying towards the head. So if the Imam is lying inside here, this is the entrance. This wall is made of gold. And the rest of the three walls are ordinary walls. But the wall in the haram of Imam Ali is on the side of his feet. It is not on the side of his head. And the king, the Safavid king who made it, has written, if you go there, try to look for it, he has written that to Ali gold was the dust of his feet. And that's why I have placed this golden wall by the feet of Ali ibn Abi Talib. It was his aqidah to put gold there. He wanted to put gold there. Imam himself was somebody who was carrying a bag of flour at 4 o'clock in the morning and delivering to the poor people. So it is nothing to do with the Imam. The decoration is nothing to do with the Imam. The decoration is us. We want the haram to look beautiful. We want the haram to look nice. We want, and that's what has been placed there. It is just like somebody doing matam, expressing his own emotions in a particular way. You can't stop him and teach him that this is not how you express your emotions. How one expresses one's own emotion is something very personal. So the people who actually put gold in there, who owns Imam Hussain? Nobody owns Imam Hussain. You go to the julus in Dar es Salaam, in Karachi, in India, in Pakistan, and wherever you go, you see non-Muslims bringing gold and placing it there. Not that they are giving anything to Hussain, not that Hussain is benefiting anything from it. It is the aqidah of the people who are placing it there. Yes, it is possible for us to use that gold to serve the purpose of Hussain, of what Hussain ibn Ali would do himself. But who makes that decision and how the reaction of the ummah will be if that decision is made, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows.
Okay, so it's going to be about an hour. Sayyidina is tired, he hasn't had dinner, so I'm going to try to wrap it up pretty soon here. A couple more questions. We have one on this side.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Etiquette of meeting and discussing with the marja. There is no etiquette apart from normal etiquette to go and visit a marja. You will be told by your scholar or the people who are going with you as to what. So you will be, if you will be going to Ziyarat, you will, if it is Iraq, you will be visiting one of the 4 maraji, Ayatollah Sistani, Ayatollah Bashir Najafi, Ayatollah Sa'id al-Hakim, or Ayatollah Ishaq Fayyad. And there are other junior maraji, but these are the top 4 maraji for visiting. Apart from, I don't know, I mean, it's just normal visitation to a marja's house. You enter, you have no chance to do anything. You just are made to sit down, respectfully speak to him, talk to him, ask questions, and they respond to you.
Question over here.
Yeah,
Alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
in the context of one of the questions asked, and I wonder, in terms of, I believe concrete communication is important when we want to communicate with the Imam, because if Allah, say, correct me here, if Allah tells us, "Uduni astajib," and ask for something, and don't just assume or imply. In concrete terms, "Uduni astajib," by the same context, is the same concrete communication not relevant here to the Imam?
It is. You see, ud'u. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Shall I give you the mic? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, "Ud'uni astajib lakum." Call upon me and I shall respond. Is that not the case when it comes to Imam Hussain? Is that right?
Yeah, to me that's a lesson for us, to using the same reasoning.
And then asking.
Us to ask in concrete terms.
No, here Allah is asking us to call upon Him. Ud'uni, call upon me, astajib lakum, I shall respond to you. The same principle would apply to Imam Hussain, except that we must refrain from thinking that he is the agency that we are asking from, that He is going to provide for us, because that leads us towards shirk, according to the Quran itself. And therefore, the awareness that Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam is a personality that has reached a spiritual status whereby I can ask him to intervene on my behalf, knowing that it is not he who will provide for me, it is Allah who will provide for me, but because Allah has placed him as a wasila for me, then yes, I can directly go and call upon him, and he should respond. So he is responding, but his response is of this nature, unless I have not understood your question.
No, you have. And I was implying to say that the questioner had asked whether I can just be there and assume a few things rather than communicate to the Imam in concrete terms. And I was emphasizing the fact that don't just think that what you have in mind, the Imam would know. It's essential that you communicate in concrete.
Absolutely, yes. It is necessary to communicate. Absolutely. I agree. I beg your pardon. It is absolutely necessary that you have a concrete communication with the Imam. And that applies, by the way, to the ariza that we write to the 12th Imam alayhi salatu wassalam. What we do is necessary for us to think in terms of our actions as to what we do. When an ariza is given to us, we are told that you read this, you write in this ariza, pen or pencil, whatever you want to use. Then we are told, if you don't know Arabic, then you can write in any other language. Then we are told, you don't actually have to write in any language, you can scribble. Then we are told, you don't even have to scribble, you can just look at it and put your thoughts in it and send the ariza. These are only symbolic, by the way. If Imam can understand what you are just looking in the paper, then he does not require a paper to understand you at all. Then your communication with the Imam, these are symbolic issues. It must be a concrete communication with any of the Imams that we are discussing. And only then it is fair to expect a response. You cannot just begin assuming things there and come out from there. It must be a concrete communication, yes.
Okay, so with that, inshallah, we'll wrap it up. I have a small request. Sayyid's mother passed away a couple of months ago, so inshallah, if we can all recite Surah Fatiha, inshallah, the sawab of this gathering can go to her.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Sayyid, I'd like to thank you very much for enlightening us, for spending the extra time. I know you haven't had dinner yet. Inshallah, the Zawaz will benefit from this session. With that, we'll wrap up with Ziyarat.
Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdillah وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء وبعيد المدى السلطان بالحسن علي بن موسى الرضا سلام الله عليك وعلى آبائك الطاهرين وأبنائك المعصومين وعلى أختك فاطمة المعصومة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا حجة الله يا ابن الحسن يا صاحب الأمن والعصر والزمان السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله لك ما وعدك من الناصر وظهور الأمر ورحمة الله وبركاته.